Hello, welcome to part 12 of level 1 of electronic music production with Ableton Live. So this time we're going to look at drawing notes in a MIDI clip. In the last lesson we had a kind of a quick intro to drum racks and looked at how we could record kind of playing in sort of live, which we did by having the clip playing, we've got the metronome going, and if I wanted to play kind of something like that, all I've got to do is click on the session record button. Okay, and then it will record what I play in, which is great. Good way of doing it if you've got a rhythm in your head and you're not entirely sure where the notes should fall within the grid. And then you can tidy up your timing, etc. after it. Generally, I will, because I know kind of how the grid works and where I want my notes to be, generally I will program my drum beats in by drawing the notes in rather than recording them, but sometimes I will record stuff over the top as well. So usually you want to have a combination of both techniques. So we've got basically the same drum rack as we had in the previous lesson. We've got the 808 classic kit in, and we're going to program just kind of like a standard drum beat. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the kick drum or the bass drum, whatever you want to call it, is going to play what's called a quarter note, which is going to be on beat 1, and then we're going to have 2/8 notes on beat 3. So it's like, and then we'll have a snare drum on beat 2 and beat 4, which is the back beat. So it's going to be like a boom, ch, boom, boom, ch kind of pattern. And then on the hi-hat we'll have 8th notes, which again is fairly sort of standard. Generally, I will work with my grid split down into 16th notes. Okay, so I've got 16th grid down here. Just makes it easier, so you don't have to keep changing down here. Generally, with most drum patterns, you're not going to need anything with a smaller resolution than 16ths. Occasionally you're going to want some 30-second notes in there, but most of the time, if you're on 16ths, it's going to pretty much cover everything that you need. So basically, we've split our one bar into 16 little sections, okay? And we can see the kind of darker grey block here is the first beat, and then that beat 2, and then beat 3, and then beat 4. If you zoom in a little bit more here, we will get on the grid here the 16th note resolution. I'm going to leave it as just so I can fit everything on screen there. Okay, so in general terms, just so you know a little bit about notes if you don't know, a quarter note would be that long. Okay, that would fill up the whole beat. So that would be 4/16. Okay, so it's basic maths, basic fractions. 1/4 is the same length as 4/16. An 8th note would be 2 of those, and then a 16th note would be 1 of them. A half note, if you want to go fully technical, would be half the bar like that, and then a whole note would be all the way across. Okay, so a whole note, half note, and then we'd have, just switch them around. Let's get them in order. Let's be OCD. Right. So you can kind of see the relationship between them. Quarter note, 8th note, start again, that's not a quarter note. 16th note, 8th note, quarter note, half note, whole note. Okay, so hopefully you can see how they all kind of fit in relationship to each other. So, and generally the note lengths don't matter on these. So even though we're having a quarter note, what would be a quarter note on beat 1 to fill up the whole of beat 1, if we play it as a 16th on a kick drum, unless you've got a very, very long sounding kick drum, it's not going to sound any different. Okay, if we put it in as a quarter note or a 16th. So that's the bass drum there. Okay, so you can hear that's ringing out. So if I make that longer, it's not going to make any difference to the sound. Okay, so we're fine with a 16th. So we said we're going to have the bass drum on beat 1 and then 2/8 notes on beat 3. So there it is on beat 1. Our 8th note position is going to be there and there. Let's turn the metronome off because that's going to get annoying. Okay, snare drum on the back beat, which is where it normally is on beat 2 and beat 4. So there is beat 2. You can see bar 1, beat 2. So that's the 1.2, and 1.4 is bar 1, beat 4. Okay, so there we have our basic kind of bass and snare drum pattern. Now, to play the 8th notes on the hi-hat, we could put them in one at a time. So we're going to use the closed hi-hat. Okay, we could click all the way along like that, which is a little bit time consuming, particularly if you've got quite a few bars that you're playing. A couple of ways round of making that a little bit quicker. Let's just get rid of those. We could, I know I said generally I'll leave my grid on 16ths, which generally I will do, but we could switch it to 8ths. We could just put 1 in at the beginning. Lost my hi-hat. Where is he? There. Okay, and then if that's highlighted, we can click Control and D, and that will duplicate it all the way across. Okay, or if, let's just get rid of those, you might want to put 2 in, and we could highlight both of those, and then we could duplicate it in doubles like that. So that's Control D. That's quite a useful way of writing a lot of notes in. The other way is to use the draw, the pencil thing here, which, if I remember rightly, you turn on and off with the keyboard shortcut of B. So if I press B there, you'll see that lights up and then it turns off. So basically what will happen is if I click on the first note and drag along, it will put notes in for me based on my grid resolution down here. So if I click there and just drag along, okay, I've now got a very quick bar of 1/8 notes. Let's say I want 16ths. Let's get rid of those. Because obviously if you've got 16ths or even 30 seconds, it's, you know, let's do 30 seconds. Let's say we want a whole bar of 30-second notes. Rather than clicking on here 32 times or clicking Control D 32 times, draw tool is a lot quicker. So I'll just go zip all the way along, and then we've got a crazy amount of hi-hats. So let's go back to 1/8 notes. So I'll do it with the draw tool. That's what we're talking about. So we'll go there. So you can see we've now got 1/8 notes. You've got to remember to turn your draw tool off, because otherwise if you click down here, you're going to get extra notes. So when you finish, make sure you turn that off. Okay, so now we've got our basic grooving. We'll just try and give it a little bit more feel, or we can change the rhythms a little bit more with the velocities. Now, if you drag this up and you've not got your velocities down here, you need to click on the little drop-down box here to give you the velocities. So at the moment, everything is on 127, right? Full whack on velocities. So what we're going to do is we're going to we'll try and give it kind of like an offbeat sort of hi-hat feel. So we're going to make the ones that fall on the end of the beat, on the second 1/8 note, because we're counting that 1 and 2 and we'll make these louder. Well, not make these louder, we'll make the other ones quieter. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the multiple notes. Easiest way to do that is highlight your first one, press down Shift, and then any one you click on, it will highlight those for you. So you can see down here, hopefully you can see that that is slightly darker in colour than that one. These are the notes that we've selected. So we're going to drag all those down to, we'll go kind of like halfway. So you can see underneath that velocity bar there is going to be relative to that snare drum. So you've got to make sure that you're dragging the correct one down. Okay, let's just go even. Hopefully you can kind of hear that that's giving it more of a offbeat kind of feel, but if we take that, you know, kind of even further down, let's get that a little bit bigger. So what we could do is let's put an extra snare drum beat at the end. Let's put 2 in there, okay? And we'll make those 2 quieter, what are called ghost notes. We could put 1 in here as well. Let's stick 1 in there. Okay, so that's kind of giving it a little bit more feel, because everything's not exactly the same volume, which is kind of quite nice. Obviously, you could still record over the top of that on a live sort of basis. So let's say I want to put that hand clap in over the top. All I would do is, if you remember from the previous video, I mapped my session record button to my number 1 button. So if I press that, that's going to activate that. And then, oop, for some reason it keeps turning off, which is very annoying. Let's just do it on the click on the mouse. That's it. For some reason it don't want to stay on, but anyway, there we go. So obviously we can record those in live, and then we can mess about with the velocities of those. So let's turn that one down a bit. Oop. Turn that one down. Okay, so again, it's giving us that extra little bit of feel. Okay, so hopefully that gives you enough to be able to get some cool drum beats going by using a combination of drawing your notes in and also recording them in live. So thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next part. Usual things, like, subscribe, share the videos around. If you've got any questions or comments, or indeed even any suggestions for future videos, then stick those in the box below. I will do my best to answer all the comments. I can't guarantee I'll answer everybody's comment, particularly if you make a stupid comment like, oh, that was boring, why did I bother watching that? Well, if you don't like watching it and you find it boring, don't watch it. Simple. I know I have to have that rant every now and then because it really annoys me when people spend half an hour watching a video and then all they can put in the comments box is, oh, that was so boring, I nearly fell asleep. Well, if you get 5 minutes and you're not enjoying it, you numpty, don't watch it. Sorry, rant over. I will sure I'll have many more of those rants in future videos. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you in the next part. Cheers.